Anyone looking for a small family hatchback is faced with a bewildering array of choices. One car we'd definitely recommend that you have in your shortlist though is the Mazda 3, and that's why it was highly commended at the 2014 Auto Express New Car Awards. Obviously, one of the key selling points for the Mazda 3 is the way it looks. Mazda uses what it calls the Kodo soul of motion design language in all its cars, and basically in plain English what that means is it tries to make them all look sporty. In the case of the Mazda 3, it's definitely succeeded. In fact, it tends to make its rivals look a little bit dull in comparison. Unfortunately, there's always going to be a slight trade-off for such a sloping roofline and coupe-like profile, and the compromise is that the rear space isn't quite as generous as some of the other cars in the class. And the boot, while a little bit on the small side, does have a useful square shape and decent functionality. If you do need more space though, there's always the Mazda 3 Fastback Saloon, and that has a bigger boot. Whichever version of the Mazda 3 you go for, you get the same stylish dash design. All versions get a neat tablet-style touchscreen in the middle of the dash, which you can control with a swivel wheel if you prefer. It's not quite the best system on the market, but it's up there. I also like the way the instruments are laid out, with digital gauges for the rev counter and fuel gauge and a large speedo in the centre. This feature is a clue to how the Mazda 3 drives.
We test an awful lot of cars here at Auto Express, and the Mazda 3 is without doubt one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars money can buy. And those sporty looks aren't just for show either, because get out on a twisty back road and the Mazda is actually more fun than many supposed sports cars. There's a lovely balance to it, there's tons of grip, the steering is sharp. It's no surprise that it's developed by the same people that gave us the brilliant Mazda MX-5 Roadster. The suspension's a little firm compared to some rivals, but it's by no means uncomfortable. Generally, the Mazda rides really well. It's got really comfy and supportive seats, and apart from a little tyre noise on the motorway, it's generally a really quiet and comfortable cruiser. You won't hear anything from the engines though, because they're all really quiet. If you're looking for a petrol, we'd probably recommend you avoid the slightly weedy 1.5 litre and go for the 2 litre instead, because it's still capable of around 50 miles to the gallon. It doesn't have the mid-range punch of some turbocharged petrol rivals, but it's got a lovely crisp throttle response, and when you rev it, it's really quite quick. So that only really adds to the fun. If you do lots of miles, then the punchy 2.2 litre diesel is probably the best bet. Not only is it almost as smooth and responsive as the petrols, it'll return over 70 mpg while emitting under 110 grams per kilometre of CO2.
Well, all manufacturers are striving to make their cars as efficient as possible. That is the holy grail. And the way that Mazda has chosen to make the 3 as cheap to run as it possibly can is by fitting technology which it calls Sky Active. One of the highlights of Sky Active is something called IE Loop, which sounds confusing, but it's not really. It recoups lost energy under braking and stores it in special capacitors rather than the battery, and uses it to help power the car's electrical systems. The 3 is also a lightweight car, lighter than its predecessor, which is quite an achievement really when you consider that it comes with lots of extra equipment, including a low-speed collision avoidance system, stability control and 6 airbags. But the options list is actually quite limited, and what that means is you need to go for a mid-spec model if you want certain equipment, including xenon headlamps, LED daytime running lights, cruise control, dual zone climate control, and parking sensors, which we would recommend because the view out the back is really quite limited. The good news though is that the 3 should hold its value pretty well come resale time. It'd be nice though if Mazda was to offer some prepaid servicing plans. That would help people plan with servicing costs. Buyers shouldn't really have any concerns about reliability. Mazda has a fairly well-deserved reputation for building durable cars. In addition, we do a survey called Driver Power, an owner survey where 50,000 drivers each year tell us what their cars are like to live with. The Mazda 3 fared really well in the last survey, 2014. It finished in the top 25 out of 150, and that suggests that it will be a reliable car to run and live with. We actually ran a Mazda 3 in our fleet for the best part of 6 months, and it was based on our experiences living with the car day to day and running one that we decided to give it a commendation in the Auto Express New Car Awards this year. If you're looking for a car in this area of the market, it absolutely deserves to be on your shortlist.